Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I have food updates and what I ate last week and a scent update. Okay. The unknown Iowa number that texted me last week asking me to come over and eat seafood never texted me back after I asked them what their address was. So I did have to end up eating seafood on my own, which I will get into. I want to give you an update or some missing information that I excluded from last week when I talked about my first internship at an event production company called Mean Red, where we threw quote unquote raves in dim sum restaurants, etc. Um, I wanted to let you know that the first party that I worked for them, they put me in charge of coat check. There were about 4 to 5 huge racks of coats. It was probably January, so everybody was wearing their heaviest coats, and I was in charge of them. At one point, the people dancing knocked over one of the coat racks, and it created a domino effect, and all of the coat racks knocked over. All of the coats fell off of their hangers. Unfortunately, all the tickets were attached to the hanger, so I could no longer identify which ticket belonged to which coat. At that point, I think I blacked out and I think they sent me home because I don't remember anything else. As you can imagine, they didn't end up hiring me. I remember showing up to my last day of my internship at 4 p.m. We usually started at 9 a.m., so this was late. Office hours ended around 5. So let's move on to some actual food news. Noma is reopening in Copenhagen with the guy, Red Zeppi, in a new role, which I only could imagine is hiding under a table with a knife and poking people. Let's click through the article. It's a Reuters article. Let's see what they have to say about this. So it looks like he's going to take on a new creative role, focusing on long-term projects involving insects, seaweed, legumes, fungi, and technology. Long-term projects and maybe long-distance projects. Maybe he could be long distance so he's not poking people with knives or punching them in the stomach. All right, my sister in Chicago sent me a product that I would like to try that she saw in the wild. I do miss being in Chicago because there were a lot of interesting products. This product is Rompope Coronado Pink Pine Nut. Tradition since 1955. I can't read numbers. It's from Mexico. And great, there's no product description. Pink Pine Nut. It's a liqueur. It seems to be an eggnog adjacent experience. So, pink eggnog. Pink pine. I'm not like a huge pine nut flavor fan. It's made with milk, egg yolks, sugar, rum or cane alcohol, and natural pine nut extract. Traditionally dyed a distinct pink color. So I'm going to request this for the upcoming holiday season. I do want to give you guys an apple cider vinegar update. After 2 weeks of fermenting my apple cider vinegar, I finally strained it. It smelled like an apple cider that you would drink at a bar. And I strained it, and it is going to turn into vinegar, I hope, in my cabinet. I mean, vinegar is something that you can easily make by accident, so I'm not too worried about this. I have made vinegar by accident many times. Now, I'll update you guys probably mid-July with vinegar updates. Tiramisu update. I've been thinking a lot about tiramisu. I actually did make a tiramisu this week, but I haven't eaten it yet, so I'm not going to talk about it quite yet. I have been thinking of doing a cherry tiramisu with all the cherries that I've been eating and thinking about what might go well with that. My dad has a bottle of Kirsch in the cabinet. He's had it for about 25 years from a Polish colleague. It was a gift. I don't think he's ever used it. We've used it in something. I think when he made fondue once, we put a little Kirsch in there. But I'm sure he still has the rest of the bottle. Maybe we could borrow that for tiramisu making. I do want to check in on La Cantine Bushwick and their new tiramisu drop, Black Forest tiramisu. So this is sort of kind of what I was thinking. Ladyfingers soaked in a dark chocolate, cherry, and Kirsch liqueur, house cherry jam, vanilla mascarpone whip, and dark chocolate cherry almond praline. The first comment is there caffeine in this? There's fruit in it, someone said. They always seem to include a crunchy component in their tiramisu. I don't know if that's what I'm looking for out of a tiramisu experience. I'm looking for like a soft, fluffy, not baby food, that's disgusting. Soft whipped cream. I mean, all I really want to do is eat a bowl of whipped cream at the end of the day, so if it has a fun flavor incorporated into it, all the better. Malted milk tiramisu. Okay, now this is a spoiler alert. I'm just going to talk about it. I'll give you more details next week. I got the idea to make a malted milk tiramisu. And I was like, is that too plain? Like a vanilla malted milk tiramisu? But then I thought, what if I did a malted milk ball tiramisu, chocolate? That got a little more interesting. So I ended up finding a package of Crave Brothers, which feels like a weird thing to name your company. Crave Brothers. They're out of Wisconsin, and they make chocolate mascarpone. So I bought it. It was on sale. I kind of bought it on a whim and thought, oh God, what if it's cloyingly sweet? It's not sweet. It's actually kind of disgusting. You do have to add sugar to it, which is great because you can control the sweet. So I got that, and I thought, well, I could use this in either like a chocolate malted tiramisu iteration or the passion fruit tiramisu that I really want to make. Passion fruit and chocolate go really well together. So I'll update you all on the malted milk tiramisu. Spoiler alert, it's actually a mocha malt. How do you say this? Not chocolate malt, not vanilla malt. It's mocha malt. A mocha malt tiramisu. And I am doing half versions of tiramisu from now on, I think, because, well, here's what I found with the lemon tiramisu. If you're using fresh lemon juice, you really need to eat the whole tiramisu in a day or two. And that was really hard for me and Brian to accomplish. Maybe it'll last longer if it doesn't have fresh citrus juice in it. I did order a glass dish with straight sides that is loaf pan shaped and sized so that I can make half versions of tiramisu. And that way I can try more flavors. So a full tiramisu is like an 8x8 or a 9x9 pan. So I got a half loaf. Well, I've been making them in loaf pans, but here's the problem. Most loaf pans, the dimensions of the bottom are different from the dimensions on the top. The top of the loaf pan is wider. They're tapered outwards, the sides, so that you can lift the loaf out of the pan more easily. But I don't want that in constructing a tiramisu because in the loaf pan, the first layer, the ladyfingers fit perfectly along the bottom. But the second layer, there's all this space on the sides. So I need something with straight edges, parallel to the ground. Do you know what I mean? So I tried to find vintage loaf pans that actually are built this way. And really the only thing that's built like that is a Pullman loaf pan with the lid. And I was like, I guess that would be fun to have around in case I wanted to make a Pullman loaf. But I also want to see the tiramisu, so I wanted a glass dish. Um, so I ended up ordering something. Okay, I had to pull up my eBay app so I can tell you what it is. It's a vintage Heller oven microwave glass bread loaf pan. It has ribs on the sides and it looks to have perfectly straight edges. What I don't understand is this huge lip around the edge. Oh, maybe that's so that your bread makes like spills over the top and has somewhere to go. I'm not sure. But it is I don't know. Could be a cool thing to serve tiramisu in. Huge lip. Maybe for safety, for grabbing it out of the oven. I do not know. Functionality and stylish design. Okay. I do have an update about the Rudy Jude pants that I ordered like 3 months ago. Because I'm looking for the perfect loose elastic black pant that still looks nice enough to wear out for really any occasion. They finally arrived, so they are making their pants and shipping them to people. I love the fabric. It feels higher quality than Michaela Gregg pants for the same price point. They aren't lined, which I was disappointed by. The fabric has a rough texture to it, which is similar to the laundry that I've been drying on my deck because my dryer broke. So I guess I'm kind of used to the rough texture, but it's not ideal, but it's not itchy. I didn't wash them or anything, and then I realized that they have a strange bleach stain on the crotch. So I did email their customer service email. I have not heard back. I guess it is Monday, and I emailed them over the weekend. But I am curious to see how they will handle this situation because I hear that their customer service is horrendous. I'll keep you updated. I know that they like hand dye everything, so I could see how a dyeing issue would come into play pretty easily here. But for the price point, I think you need to send people pants that don't have bleach stains on them. I will say that the silhouette, I got a medium, and it's very. I would say I'm probably a true medium, and it's it's a comfortable, roomy medium that has this weird loose silhouette that makes me look like that photo of John Lennon with Yoko Ono where he's walking with bent knees and a denim outfit and a hat. Do you know what I'm talking about? That's kind of what it makes me look like. Okay. Let's get back to food updates. My former supervisor gave me a hot tip. She always has all of the hot gossip. Chola Nad's owner charged with attempted murder. Campus locations permanently closed. Okay, so there's this contemporary Southern Indian concept restaurant that used brush script and maybe some other like Microsoft Word fonts for their design, according to this picture. Chola Nads. They were in UNC Chapel Hill dining halls, and their locations have been closed as of April 21st, 2026. So the move to permanently close all the locations at UNC Chapel Hill comes weeks after the owner of Chola Nad, whose name I'm going to butcher, Mativanan Pothiyapan, was arrested in Chatham County and charged with attempted murder in an incident involving his wife. Charged with assault on a female, communicating threats, and misdemeanor domestic violence. The situation escalated when he ran to the kitchen and said, "Today I'm going to take the knife and kill you. The wife's statement says that he then chased her in a car while she ran to a nearby lake, according to the wife's statement. The couple's daughter called authorities while the attack took place, according to the daughter's victim statement. He was then arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder. Damn. So there isn't any more Indian food at UNC Chapel Hill dining hall restaurants. Okay, David, the company that made those protein bars and frozen fish, has sent the Oasis app a cease and desist notice. I follow Oasis on TikTok. I'm weary about it because it's an app. I tried to sign up for the app and it was like, it's probably harder to sign up for the Oasis app than it is to legally change your name. I could not figure out how to get the app. It's an app that tells you what ingredients are actually in the food you're buying, and it ranks the items. It gives the items a score. I could imagine that this could be easily corrupted. I wonder if they're getting money of any kind. Like, how are they supporting this app? If it's potentially free, I don't know. But Oasis is claiming that David is trying to silence them because they're shedding light on the strange ingredients that David is putting into their products. They're using sucralose, they're using all kinds of strange ingredients. And they figured this out because the ice cream pint, for example, I don't remember the exact details, but the calorie count does not match the protein. Like for the amount of protein in one carton of ice cream, it would need to have more calories than that. And it's because they're using these ingredients that, I don't know, there's all kinds of garbage with David. What I'm saying is don't buy David products because, first of all, they're not being honest about what's in their ingredients. They were behind that Caltine bar story. Remember the Mean Girls Caltine bars? David basically lied about the calorie and fat content of their protein bars. And now they're putting in all these like ingredients that are negative calorie or, just like all these stupid mysterious ingredients. Which is unfortunate because I really like their design and their look. Like, I feel like I would easily be tricked into buying David products because of the look alone. But it feels like they're doing bad making of the food part of their business. It also makes me think of something I talked about last week. What was that concept? There's like middle food or like middle healthy food. Like there's good real food and then there's junk, and then there's like this category in the middle of like food that's sold to you that's ultra processed but seemingly healthy. That is where you can get into some trouble. And that's what David food feels like to me. Okay. Belted cows. My former supervisor learned through me that one of my sisters really likes cows. And so she told me about another cow stop in North Carolina that we could go to next time my sister visits. Fearington Village. I've talked about Fearington Village on here before because sometimes people at my work bring their cookies into the office. Fearington Village has belted animals. They have a petting zoo/farm that only has belted animals, including a belted cow that looks like an ice cream sandwich. If you don't know what I'm talking about, belted cows look like they're wearing a white belt around their stomach. They look like an ice cream sandwich or an Oreo. So this place, what is this called? The Belted Barnyard on Fearington Farm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. They have belted goats, belted Galloway goats, a rare breed of Scottish beef cattle introduced to the United States back in the 1950s. In 1982, R.B. Fitch brought a herd of 6 belted Galloway cows from Virginia to Fearington. There are now over 30 of them here. Guests often refer to the belted Galloways as Oreo cows. Wow. There is a farmer named Bob, Farmer Bob. They have a barnyard star whose name is Bess. She was bottle fed. She was abandoned and bottle fed. She has won NC State Fair Best in Show. And then they have Tennessee fainting goats, which are also belted. They have a harmless hereditary condition called myotonia congenita, which causes their muscles to briefly stiffen when startled. It's quirky, endearing, and completely safe. Okay. Do you have anything else? They have chickens, Colombian Wyandotte chickens. They're not really belted. They have a donkey. And they have bees, which are belted, if you think about it. Okay. Gourmet is being sued. We've talked about the new instance of Gourmet. They're on Instagram as gourmet.lives. Condé Nast is suing gourmet.lives because I don't even remember the story anymore. Like, Gourmet magazine folded, and I think there must have been a lapse in the trademark, or patents lapse. Do trademarks lapse? I don't know. Condé Nast is suing them over the use of the Gourmet name. We really can't comment on the case since we're in litigation and have been for months, but we can share some basic facts. Where are they? We are an independent co-op of 5 part-time writers and editors with no investors. What we lack in resources, we hope to make up with a great deal of affection for good food and writing. But lawyers, we have discovered, do not accept payment and affection for good food or writing. Please give us money, they're asking. Okay, where are the facts? How did you get... People in the comments are like, just change the name. I mean, yeah. Yeah, everybody in the comments is like, just change the name. Especially because, yeah, it's like Gourmet Magazine was a magazine. So it's confusing that you are also Gourmet Magazine, but different. Ooh, wow, yeah. People are kind of going after them. I think I would have liked your stuff more if it was under a different name. Wow. Okay, but then they have a lot of supporters. Yeah, get rid of the name Gourmet. It doesn't really make sense. Okay, I just Googled it, and Condé Nast let the Gourmet trademark lapse / they abandoned it. So just let it go. Let's move on to... I have like 4 more food updates. I have a lot of food updates this week. Watermelon seed milk. There's a company called Drink Milkish. Maybe they're just called Milkish, and their website is called Drink Milkish. Watermelon seeds. They're saying that watermelon seeds are the new sustainable plant milk. And they're like, it uses 100% less water than almonds, which I think people are like, oh my God. And it's like, okay, but that's still like a ton of water. So I don't know. Everything takes a lot of water. Tasting History made a melon seed milk. Well, I was trying to find what, like, people on Reddit talking about this Milkish product to see if it was good or not. Nobody's really talking about it. What I did find was that Tasting History, someone posted melon seed milk. Forgotten food for the sickly and dairy tasting alternative. Oh, forgotten food for the sickly and tasty dairy alternative ? I got a copy of Ptolemy Scapi's opera for Christmas and have been leafing through it. And one thing I noticed was that in book 6, Dishes for the Sickly, melon seed milk, latte di deme di melone in Italian, which I never heard of before, appeared in 9 of the recipes. I made some, first with the seeds from a single ripe honeydew melon to 1 cup of water, blended until it was white as almond milk, then strained through a sieve, and again with cantaloupe. Any sweet melon seeds work, and it tasted surprisingly like almond milk, as smooth and creamy and maybe a bit airier, but with a subtly fruity finish. Then I found some literature on the subject, and it turns out melon seed milk could be used to cleanse the kidneys and cool the liver, and was also purported to help with gallstones. Edit. I theorize this milk alternative has been forgotten partly because it has virtually no shelf life, similar to the American persimmon or the pawpaw. It's one of those concoctions you have to make yourself, like green cheese or small beer. It won't stick around more than a couple of days max. Well, this was a year ago, and since there's been an update, people are selling it on the mass market now. Watermelon seed milk. This makes sense when you think about people eating watermelon seeds or sunflower seeds like nuts. It's kind of the same thing. Sunflower milk. What grocery store? Global Suck. There's a grocery store named Global Suck. It's spelled SUQ. Souk? Maybe it's Souk. Someone got shot outside of it like 2 days ago in Durham. Anyway, they had a ton of watermelon seeds for eating, or melon seeds. I'm assuming they're watermelon seeds, but Anyway, there's this blue honey mystery that's happening in North Carolina. Apparently, every couple years or so, blue honey is being produced by these bees, and nobody can figure it out. Or purple honey, however you want to look at it. BBC is reporting on it, and it reminded me of that New Yorker article. Was it New Yorker or New York Times? Maybe it was New York Times that reported on that story about this mysterious red honey that was showing up in Brooklyn, I think in Red Hook. It was like a rooftop beekeeper, and they couldn't figure out why their honey was red. They finally figured out that the bees were getting into a maraschino cherry factory, and it was turning their honey yellow. But then it sort of unraveled into this like other mystery that I won't spoil in case you want to read the article. But I wonder if the bees are getting into some sort of like, maybe they're getting into the local haichu factory and the blue raspberry syrup. Where is this taking place? Aberdeen. I don't even know what that is. Okay. I'll figure it out and get back to you guys. I have a Niece's sausage update. Everybody was panicking in the state of North Carolina because Niece's sausage had disappeared from the grocery stores. The owner died. Some things went wrong. I think the health department shut them down. Turns out Jesse Jones, another local food company, has purchased them and has vowed to retain the recipes for their sausage, their liver mush, etc., etc. So everybody can stop panicking. My last food update before we move into my scents is Aperol has a branding update that actually looks good. The before and after pictures, it's crazy. Like their bottle kind of sucked. And they actually updated their label to something that looks like what it would have been before. Does that make sense? Like most older European or even American brands abandon their heritage branding and make it look stupid and flat. Aperol was stupid and flat to begin with, and they actually made it look like a heritage brand. So, looks pretty good. Way to go. I mean, it's okay. It's not the best. They also changed what the bottle looked like. Not going to change the fact that it tastes like liquid children's Advil. Okay. Scents. Le Labo Lisse update. I rewore it. It was so hot, I said, time for some beach smells. Le Labo Lisse has that deep... Wait, sticky bun? That's not what I meant. I think I was doing voice to text and it wrote sticky bun. Okay. Let's start over. Has that deep, earthy scent of a white flower that magnolia smells like, but also like an animal musk. Really fresh in the beginning. Okay, this was definitely voice to text. This makes no sense. But then it turned into the peace lily in my mom's bedroom that smelled bad and never really flowered because it was in a dark corner. Have you smelled a peace lily? And actually, okay, we're in not an extreme drought, but we just got upgraded to an exceptional drought and everything's like dead and dying. And it rained for about 30 minutes last night out of nowhere. And the smell afterwards was like earwax, like sharp, pungent, minimal flower, earwax, bitter. I had this Playmobil dollhouse in the 90s, and there was like a green chair that was supposed to be like a velvet chair, but it was like a weird, almost like a pencil eraser uh, texture. And I used to want to eat it all the time, so I would bite it, and it had a really bitter taste to it. Ooh, so bitter. Kind of like earwax. Anyway, that's kind of the smell. Or like kind of like a musky animal, like a wild deer smell. Okay, that's what it smelled like to me. Okay, but I put it on, and then while driving to work 20 minutes later, my hands smelled like the Archway molasses cookies, which I'm guessing that scent was related to the perfume, but because I don't know what else I would have touched that would have smelled like Archway molasses cookies. Those remind me of my sister. They are so good and soft. They're the best texture. About 6 hours later, my hands smelled like sweet river trash. The sweet, sweet smell of a polluted river on a hot day. One of my favorite smells. Okay, let's get into the real scent review. Le Labo Tuberose 40. Now, I'm trying something new. I have been randomly picking a scent with my eyes closed and reviewing it, but this time I smelled it without knowing what it was and wrote down my thoughts. Okay, so the official description: Tuberose 40, like most of our scents, barely deserves its name. It is, of course, full of tuberose, absolute, and nothing less. But what hits you from the start is a wave of bergamot, tangerine, and orange flower that yields that surprising eau de cologne effect, despite its concentration of 30%, which transforms this perfume into an extract. The first psht is hence pure well being. Okay, that is a nightmare of a sentence. And they spelt it P-S-C-H-I-T-T. Psht. Tuberose 40 then slowly develops into the woody floral heart that gives its unique character and comfort. You smell the white florals where the tuberose finally has its say, and the woods, cedar and sandalwood, sing along with oak moss, musks, and ambrette absolute to rock you into a state of intensity, pureness, and bliss. As long as there is light, there is life. As long as there is New York, there will be Tuberose 40, only available at our New York labs. And let it stay that way. My blind review: initial orange citrus blast that quickly fades into a soapy lather. Something bitter like orange pith or my parents' neighbor restaining antique furniture in his basement. Iris, rummaging through an old makeup bag that you found in the back corner of a cabinet. White flowers, violet, unintentionally old, sitting in a hot classroom in August taking a standardized test. All right, let's get into some internet updates. First, I just want to say, after being on the internet this past month, let's stop making dot cakes. Let's stop making stuff that are dot themed. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, bless you and your blissful life. Dot cakes are those what I mean, they're like sprinkles that are perfectly spherical and tiny. If you enjoy eating them, I would imagine you also like eating rocks. You can imagine your teeth shattering every time. Like, Brian made a really fresh salad last night with all these vegetables. One of the vegetables had sand or grit in it, and I mean, that's what I imagine eating a dot cake is like. People are obsessed. They don't even taste good. Anyway, I have some updates from the internet about what the best burger is in North Carolina. Some unknown organization. I didn't really look into it because this list is getting long as this podcast is too long as it is. Bull City Burger was voted best burger in North Carolina. If you remember, that's the place that I randomly went to get a beer before going to an Indian restaurant, before going to Maggie Winter's show in Durham. And I just got their fries, and they were the skinniest shoestring fries with rosemary cooked in duck fat, and they were divine. And there were families streaming in to go get burgers and sit outside. And I thought, maybe I should, if their fries are this good, I should try a burger. Apparently, I do need to go back and try a burger because it won, according to somebody. Now, this TikTok creator who seems to just report on North Carolina stuff has an update and says that, well, he posted that video and people in the comments were like, here are our actual favorites. Alley 26, which is a downtown Durham establishment that I've heard negative things about, but I've never been myself. Queenie's, which I've been to. It's, well, what is it? Queen Burger. I'm sorry. Queenie's is a restaurant I've never been to, but they have a pop-up called Queen Burger, which I have been to, that has an incredible smash burger. So yes. Only Burger, which if you'll remember, after I went to Queen Burger, I went to Only Burger and hated it. It was like a meatball / meatloaf. It's like, no, I just want straight up beef, really salty beef. People said Bar Virgil, which I've been to a couple times and I haven't had the burger either time, which is a mistake. And if you remember the last time I went there with two of my coworkers, one of them got the burger. I was really jealous, but it did look like a very messy eating experience. So I was grateful that I didn't order it on a work meeting dinner. Mateo's, people are saying that Mateo's has a good burger. I went to Mateo's for my birthday when we first moved here, and Brian ordered a sherry flight because we were watching a lot of Frasier because we didn't have the internet. And I was like, this place kind of sucks. So I don't know if I would go to eat a burger there. King's. King's is like a corner, like walk up window place. It's good. It's like the poor man's Red Hot Ranch. If you know Red Hot Ranch in Chicago, you know that it rocks. They have the best burger. They have the best late night burger. King's is trying to do that, but it's just not as good. And then Dane's. Dane's is a bar on like one of the main drags of Durham, like student-oriented businesses. I got their mott sticks the last time I went there. I think I talked about that. Anyway, I've never tried their burger. All right. Now, I have gotten into Kathleen Meisinger on TikTok this week. I don't remember if I talked about her last week, but she's loved and she seems to be hated. Not hate is a strong word. People seem to dislike her tone and her sense of authority, but I think she's earned it, and I think she's very well studied. Anyway, She's on TikTok making all kinds of comments about how to bake things and sort of critiquing these baking influencers who don't know the science behind what they're doing. And we need someone to talk about these things. So I applaud her work on all of this. Now, she says, wait a minute. She tested gluten-free baking flours, which I'm always interested in because I do bake for my mom sometimes, so it's good to know. And she says that at least for chocolate chip cookies, Bob's Red Mill is the best gluten-free baking flour mix. She only tested 3 types. She didn't test the cup for cup, which my mom uses. I think she tested the King Arthur flour and what other kind? Anyway, if you're looking for like way too detailed breakdowns of the science behind baking, check her out. What's this Reddit article? It's on the Foodie Snark subreddit 6 months ago. Is Kathleen Meisinger helpful or just mean and shady? And then they posted a screenshot of Broma Bakery's Instagram post. Our babysitter loves to use our cookbook to cook with, and my son, every recipe is interesting, blah, blah, blah. Oh, wait, I don't know what book they're talking about, but Broma Bakery commented. And then Kathleen Meisinger commented below, Broma might be the worst cookbook ever. I don't own it, and I've made enough videos cataloging the lack of rigor, understanding, and awareness of that book. Wow. So Kathleen often does testing where she evaluates recipes and gives feedback as to why it doesn't work, is a bad recipe, etc. This is according to the original poster. Her fans eat up her critiques, but because of her delivery, I find them rude. She goes after Broma Bakery a lot, which I find kind of funny, and isn't a fan of Claire either. I assume she's talking about Claire Savitz. Someone said, all I can say about that person, those who can do, those who can't teach. Well, she does, and she teaches. She does both. Huh. Someone wrote, I think it's worth noting that Kathleen did not plan to try Broma Bakery's recipe because in her opinion it had some red flags, and her intent is not to just bash people. She's an incredible resource. People are saying that she is unnecessarily rude. People saying she's bitter, petty, unkind. I just think that's how she talks. And I think she's straightforward. I think she says it like it is. Could she benefit from a different tone? Possibly. But people can talk however they want to on the internet. Okay, let's click on this random TikTok link that I sent myself. What is this? Green beans? Heritage recipe. The best green beans on the earth. Green beans with walnuts and garlic. Loubier Bijoux. 2 pounds of green beans trimmed, 1 cup of walnuts, 1/4 cup of pine nuts, 5 cloves of garlic, peeled, olive oil. Boil the green beans for 5 minutes, so you just kind of parboil them. Drain, put in ice water, in a food processor, combine the walnuts, pine nuts, garlic, bit of olive oil, and blend until it forms a thick, coarse sauce. Toss the green beans with the mixture. That looks pretty good to me. Vegan. I would probably make that. Maybe I should put it in my article of, hold on, I'm going to put it in my food I want to make list. Okay, muffin rings. I forgot that I had muffin rings in my cabinet, and then I spotted them and said, I need to use these. And then like an hour later, I saw a girl on TikTok called the Homemaker Sourdough use muffin rings to make English muffins. And that helps the English muffins. She bakes the English muffins in the muffin rings, but then she puts a sheet tray over the top when she bakes them, which I would have thought would have inhibited them to rise, but it's really to brown both sides evenly. I don't know, it's interesting. But her what caught my attention is that her English muffins are so tall. They're like they're as tall as they are wide. They look like plugs, like earplugs, and I kind of love it. So I would like to actually I'm going to add this too to my list. Okay, back to Kathleen Meisinger for a second, because milk powder. Thinking a lot about malted milk powder and my tiramisu, but I'm also thinking about milk powder as MSG in baking, which I talked about last week. So I was in the baking aisle at Whole Foods after work, and I saw a bag of Milkman milk powder. And I love the very simple design of the product, which made me think, oh, this is a good simple product. And then I went home, and then I paused and I was like, you know what? I don't know what this product is intended to be used for. I should do more research on it before I just grab it for a baking purpose. Went home and saw a video. Before even doing any research, I saw a video from Kathleen Meisinger talking about this very topic, about milk powders and how you really need to research how it's made before you just add any old milk powder to a baked product. She said that King Arthur milk powder products are good to go. Like, they are very much intended for baking. You need to know, like, how the milk was processed. Was there heat involved? Yada, yada, yada. Like, things that are sort of beyond my scope of comprehension. So I made a comment to her and I was like, yeah, or she basically said, like, do research before you tell people to put milk powder in your baked goods. And I said, well, what about this Milkman product? Like, what do you think about it? And she's like, it looks like it's for drinking. And that was my thought too. So I'm glad I didn't buy it. Anyway, it's confusing that it's in the baking aisle, but I guess powdered milks are in the baking aisle. Maybe that's confusing for people. Like, if it's not good for baking, I don't know. Kathleen was also talking about how a lot of creators, and I think what's that creator's name who just like put out that book where she tested like 100 different pancake recipes. Anyway, some creator, either her or somebody else, was toasting milk powder and then putting it into cookies, and she says that that's like a great way to get a rancid flavor, and people don't know how to treat milk powder because they don't know what products they're actually using, which is a great point. Let's get into the Top Chef finale really quick and then talk about what I ate last week. So, first of all, I can't believe that Seeger came back as one of the sous chef options, and I can't believe he wasn't picked last as a sous chef after the total meltdown that he had. And let's just skip to the end. Kristen is crying. That's the least surprising news we've heard all year. Rhoda wins, spoiler alert, and immediately yells, "No." Another example of someone coming back after winning Last Chance Kitchen and winning it all. There really is something magical about that. Rhoda wins and Kristen says, "Welcome to the club," which feels tactless. Like, maybe tell her that or not tell her that. Or if you want to tell her that, maybe just one-on-one instead of saying that in front of the people who just lost. The episode ends with the producers asking Rhoda to say what her name is. And she says, "I am Top Chef, and my name is Rhoda," whatever her last name is. And she says it with the exact cadence of that viral sound clip, "My name is Bella Hadid." And I don't know if that was intentional or not. Was that in her subconscious? Do you think the producers coached her to say it like that because they thought it would be funny and like become a viral like TikTok sound? Anyway, I then found out that Tom Colicchio's restaurant Craft is closing. It's that New York restaurant. People are losing their minds. I remember his sandwich shop chain being everywhere in Lower Manhattan when I lived in New York. Um, I don't know. I just always remember thinking like, is this place good? I never went because I was like a student. And it just seems like, okay, this is just another New York restaurant. But I do appreciate that Tom Colicchio only used local tomatoes when they were in season and never more than that. So maybe it was good. RIP. Okay, June 8th, 2026. It was a Monday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 10 a.m. 2 sunny eggs over olive oil toasted heritage grain sourdough made at home. 1 p.m. Pasta salad with mozzarella, kale, and carrots made at home. 6 p.m. Chicken katsu with bulldog tonkatsu sauce, pasta salad, and half of a hard-boiled egg made at home. 7 p.m. Bluebell cookie two-step ice cream. Broke my own rule that I imposed upon myself and didn't double check the label of the bread that I was buying. I simply reached for a half loaf of bread at Whole Foods based on the label of the shelf that it was on. But they're never right because people are moving them around all day. So I accidentally bought the Heritage Grain sourdough, which is fine, but it's just like very flat and it doesn't have like any air pockets whatsoever. Like an air bubble or two at least in a sourdough bread. I intended to buy the Mount Athos Fire bread, which is a little bit taller. So, my mistake. I made pasta salad. I was going for like a Hawaiian mac salad. Um, but I only had the tricolor rotini that I bought for Brian in case so he didn't die when I went out of town. Apparently he survived without it or because he didn't need it and it's still in the cabinet. I need to use it. Okay, I also only really had vegetables that would have been appropriate for a coleslaw, like shredded carrots, and I had a bunch of kale. So I what do you call it? Did a chiffonade and then I cut the chiffonade basically up into squares. So I had like tiny squares of kale, shredded carrots, and then the sauce. I basically just made a coleslaw sauce. Duke's mayonnaise, mustard, pickling liquid from jalapeno peppers, garlic powder, sugar. Next time, I would probably not use the pickling liquid because it's actually half water, and I didn't even think about that. So I just added a bunch of water to the macaroni salad. I also added cubed fresh mozzarella because, well, I have a bunch of it on hand because I got it on sale, but also my mom always put fresh mozzarella in pasta salad. She used to make this pasta salad that was chicken, like cubed, like big cubes of chicken breast that she seared, kielbasa, fresh mozzarella, halved cherry or grape tomatoes in a pasta salad with, I don't know, maybe some herbs or some other vegetables, and then a mustard based, like a really mustardy based sauce. And she would serve it hot or cold. And she would often eat that for lunch in the summer. I was talking to her about it the other day, and I was like, "What is this?" Because my sisters were like, "Yeah, what is that? Like an Ina Garten recipe?" And my mom said that no, she made it up herself. Maybe I need to fact check her real quick. Hold on. Kielbasa and chicken pasta salad. Yeah, no one else is doing that, so maybe my mom did make it up. But she requested that I make it the next time I go home, and I will. So this was kind of a chaotic day trying to make chicken katsu meal while my dryer was broken. You do not realize how good you have it until your washer dryer combo is broken. I had to wash all my sheets, in a washer, but then I had to put them all outside to dry in a makeshift clothing line, and they were so stiff, they felt like thick Japanese denim jeans from the mid-aughts. It felt like I was sleeping in a historical reenactment of a bed. I called Brian, I was like, "Do not buy that clothesline, we are not doing this." He's like, "Come on, it'll save money on our electric bill if we dry all the clothes outside." I said, "Come home and feel the bed." He came home and he touched the bed and he said, "Oh my God." And then when we were sleeping under these denim sheets, he said, "It feels like we're sleeping underneath paper towels right now." Also, when you're drying big blankets outside, I'm like laying them flat so that they dry without any wrinkles. And then they dry into like giant matzo crackers. And then I can't even fit them through the door because you just made like a giant Pop Tart. I don't know if I've talked about Brian's night jeans habit, but he loves to put on night jeans to relax at night like a true psycho. And I mean, as a night jeans wearer, I thought he would love to sleep in a night jeans bed. That is the epitome of night jeans. And he did not like it. Brian has been drinking buttermilk, really old, thick buttermilk. And then he drinks it and then he fills the glass with water and then he drinks the watery buttermilk residue. But tonight he innovated a little bit and he poured the unfiltered sake into his buttermilk, which were two indistinguishable liquids. They look exactly the same. And Brian's really upset that I don't like sake. And he's arguing with me, like, why? Explain yourself. Why don't you like sake? Brian says that Brian claims that he can taste the rice in the sake in the same way that you can tell that grass grew from cow shit. I understand what he's saying. I don't like that the raw and unprocessed alcohol taste is so present in the sake. I mean, at least the sake that I was drinking. It's like nail polish remover. Also, I've had sake that I did enjoy before. I've had nice sake. I've gone to sake tastings at nice Japanese restaurants for like old work parties. This to me was not nice. It also tasted like melon to me, which I don't like. Speaking of not liking melons, I do need to remind myself to go to the Ridgeway Cantaloupe Festival, which is coming up every July. There's a small town that grows Ridgeway cantaloupes. They used to be legendary cantaloupes that were shipped up to New York hotels on the train. And then they got a blight and it didn't really work out anymore, but there's still one family that grows the Ridgeway cantaloupes. And you can go to the festival there and you can go on a helicopter ride, which seems like a great way to die. And there's like a weird, like micro German population there, and they make really weird food. They make like these pancake sandwiches. Well, the bread is pancake, but then the inside is like a big fat white turnip and back fat. Sounds disgusting. Okay, I paused to look up when the festival is, and it's on hiatus. So sad. The Ridgeway Historical Society has paused the festival. So sad. Okay, June 9th, 2026, so it was a Tuesday, 8:30 a.m., counterculture coffee with half and half made at home, 10 a.m., leftover pasta salad with a hard-boiled egg, 1:30 p.m., olive oil toasted heritage grain sourdough with Danish butter made at home, 6 p.m., pepperoni cast iron pizza with purple basil, and lacinato kale with Parmesan and Marzetti creamy Caesar dressing made at home, and a can of Sierra Nevada Pilsner. 8 p.m., Blue Bell cookie two-step ice cream. I took a sip of coffee after eating pasta salad, and the pasta salad residue was the perfect complement / flavor enhancer to the coffee, I will say. Now, I made a Roberta's pizza dough on this day in a cast iron, but I made the dough 2 days prior on the Sunday before And this was a Tuesday that I cooked it off. So I let it ferment in the fridge for a couple days. Now, this recipe is from New York Times Cooking. The batch makes 2 12-inch pizzas. I halved it and just tried to make a dough for 1 12-inch pizza just to see how I like the dough. Now, when I worked at Deus Ex, RIP, in Chicago, we had a big brick wood oven that we didn't use. So once a year, we would invite the Roberta's pizza crew to come out and make pizza for one week and do like a pop-up. And at the time, I was working down in the kitchen because I made all the punch for the bar in the basement called Punch House, which still exists. It's next to Talia Hall. And the Roberta's cooks gave us their dough recipe, and I thought I was the luckiest person in the world. I told my mom, and she was like, "Yeah, you can just Google that recipe. It's all over the internet." The comments on this recipe on the New York Times Cooking app are insane. It's a lot of people arguing. So, made a half batch, 153 grams of flour total on a Sunday afternoon. I kneaded it with a dough hook, but it was so little dough, it was difficult, so I ended up kneading it a lot by hand. Felt very dry. It's only 100 grams of water to 153 grams of flour, so it's only a 65% hydration dough, which I'm so used to using or working with 100% hydration doughs. I love a big, fat, soft dough. So I let this so it was in the fridge for a couple days. Then I let it come up to temp like 4 hours before I wanted to stretch it out. I decided to do it in a cast iron. And I had some leftover frozen tomato sauce. I reduced it further. And then I only had fresh mozzarella. So I salted it. It was pre-sliced. I salted it and I put it on paper towels to dry out in the fridge. So I didn't have the wettest pizza in the world. Cooked it 525 for 15 minutes in a 12-inch cast iron. And then I let it ride in the oven for a little bit just to I didn't want wet sauce on top. Just make sure all that sauce evaporated. And then I topped it with purple basil, Parmesan, salt, and pepper. Served that up. I handed Brian his plate and he said, "Oh, is this frozen pizza?" He quickly took back his comment when he tasted the pizza itself and said, "This is excellent." Now, it's not Roberta's pizza. If you've been to Roberta's, they fire off the dough. It cooks in like a minute or two, and it's covered in black bubbles. It's super soft, yet holds its shape when you pick up a slice. This was not that experience. I coated the cast iron in olive oil, so it really crisped up and became really crunchy, also because I dried it out in the oven. I will say the next day, I had 2 leftover slices, and I put it in a Tupperware overnight in the fridge so I could take it to the office the next day, and it was super chewy the next day in a good way. And while we were eating this pizza that Brian thought was frozen, he told me that I was the first person for him to tell that at work that week, he accidentally killed a turtle and 2 snakes. One of the snakes he accidentally chopped in half. And I said, "Okay, I'm the first person you've told. Who else are you going to tell?" June 10th, 2026. It was a Wednesday, 7 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 10 a.m. A cup of coffee with half and half and leftover pizza at the office. Cake room. New York Times Cooking page-a-day calendar recipes for sausage and egg tater tot casserole, asparagus ricotta pasta with almonds, chive pesto potato salad, roasted chicken thighs with cauliflower and herby yogurt, slow cooker barbecue pulled pork, marinated feta with herbs and peppercorns, rhubarb roasted salmon, crispy coconut shrimp and shallots, salty sweet trail mix, and chicken breasts with lemon and orecchiette salad. Or maybe these are two different recipes. I don't know. Orecchiette salad with halloumi croutons. 11:30 a.m. Iced coffee with half and half from Me and Time Coffee in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and leftover pasta salad at the office. 6 p.m. Fried pork loin chops with marinated roast beets and mozzarella over arugula made at home, and a can of Sierra Nevada Pilsner. 8:30 p.m. A small handful of Nerd gummy clusters. I forgot to add that the package of Peeps were still in the office, left open in the office. The remaining Peeps were probably rock hard. I had roasted a batch of beets that I got from the farm stand when I took my sister to go see cows and get Broken Spoke soft serve. They were selling some beets. I got some. I roasted them, and then half of them I pickled, and then half of them I used with fresh mozzarella, basil, balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar, La Tourangelle olive oil over arugula with plenty of black pepper. Brian said it tasted very spiced in a good way. I was going for like a caprese salad with beets instead of tomatoes, which was fun in theory, but not in practice. I think maybe if the beets had been pickled, it would have been a better balance of flavors. I ended up picking the remaining, as I said, I ended up pickling the remaining beets because the beets on the mozzarella, the textures are too similar and the flavor profiles are too similar. They're both kind of bland, soft bland on soft bland. So I wouldn't do it again. And did I say basil? Yeah, I put basil in there. Yeah, I don't know. I understand like goat cheese or like a more sour cheese is a better complement to the beet, the roasted beet, which is why I think pickling it would be better. You need that acid. My mom sent me a New York Times cooking article called like 7 pasta salad tips and tricks. Pretty much things you've already thought about, like adding beans or mozzarella, which, yeah, okay. Or subbing some of the mayonnaise with sour cream, which is actually something that I've been meaning to do, and I was like, "Thank you for the reminder," because I have this sour cream that I really need to use up, that I desperately need to use up. I have a container of, Good Culture sour cream that's, like, a month and a half expired, but still tastes fine. Um, and I will get to that when I use it. Brian said that the fried pork chops that I made tasted like McDonald's chicken nuggets. Excuse me, McDonald's chicken nuggets. I typically dip salted thin pork chops in a seasoned flour mixture with some baking soda or powder and let it absorb. Let that dry coating absorb into the pork. And then sometimes I'll do a double dip. And in the past, this has worked really nicely. I mean, you got to let the pork chop sit for like at least an hour, I think. And it creates a nice puffy coating that separates a little bit from the pork chop itself. But unfortunately, I worked at the office late this day. I worked, late, and then I went to the grocery store. And because I was late, I hit traffic. And so I did not have time to let the pork chops rest. Like you have to do a double rest because you like salt it. You want to salt it ahead of time. And then it gets wet enough that you can dip it into the dry coating. And then you let that sit and rest. I didn't have time to do that. And then you want to let it rest after you fry it. And I also didn't do that. So these were kind of a mess. So saying that they tasted like McDonald's chicken nuggets was a compliment. And Brian was like, "Why do McDonald's chicken nuggets taste like pork, which is a great question. So, lesson learned. Don't make fried pork chops if you're in a rush because you got to let it rest 3 times because it was so tough and greasy. I like took it out of the deep pan. I fried it in like a cast iron with oil. Took it straight out and plated it without letting it rest. Huge mistake. Huge mistake all around. Waste of like nice pork chops that I got from Whole Foods. June 11th, 2026 was a Thursday. 9 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 10 a.m. Pepperoni pasta salad and 2 hard-boiled eggs made at home. 12 p.m. Dots pretzels at Brian's parents' house. 3 p.m. Bluebell cookie two-step ice cream. 7 p.m. Microwave tortilla chips with shredded pepper jack cheese and Texas Pete hot sauce and a glass of Angels and Cowboys Sauvignon Blanc. 8 p.m. Hershey's Kisses. Something about it being 90 degrees all week, I was like, yeah, I'm eating ice cream on the back deck in the afternoon. And I did that. I don't know what it is, but this Bluebell cookie two-step ice cream is so soft. Sometimes I'll get a random flavor of Bluebell. I don't even think it's like consistent with the flavor. It's just like sometimes it's the softest ice cream. It never hardens. And then sometimes it's like the hardest ice cream I've ever had. I don't know what's going on there. But it was soft to begin with, and then it just completely melted when I sat outside, which I personally love. My mom says that she would always get mad eating ice cream with my dad when they were dating because they would get ice cream, go out and get ice cream. She would eat it, and my dad would sit there and let it melt. And then when she was done with her ice cream, he would start eating his because he wanted to eat the melted ice cream, which I get. That's what I want to eat. I want melted, not room temp ice cream, but I want a more liquidy ice cream experience. I think it also tastes better when it's not ice cold. You can taste the flavor more and the fillings, the mix-ins, excuse me. So anyway, sat on my back deck in the shade and ate ice cream. Which risking my life to do that. Brian's mom keeps telling me to stay off the deck because she thinks because it's not brand new, there's going to be some sort of mass casualty event if someone steps on the deck. So it is like a added layer of fun eating ice cream on the deck, thinking that you might die at any minute. Okay, pasta salad 2. I'm calling this pasta salad. I made a new round of pasta salad. Tricolor rotini. Well, let me back up. Brian loved the first pasta salad so much. He said, keep it coming, keep making this. I need pasta salad. And I was like, you know what? This is a perfect thing to take on to summer lunch at the office or Brian's office, which is a farm. Pasta salad. Okay, tricolor rotini. I used up the last box of tricolor rotini. Pepperoni. I had leftover pepperoni from making pizza. I diced it. Red onion, finely diced. Pickled banana peppers, finely diced, and then a package of AeroFarms Rainbow Mix microgreens. I think they were on sale. The sauce, very expired Good Culture sour cream, Duke's mayonnaise, apple cider vinegar, pickled banana pepper vinegar, mustard, sugar, garlic powder, salt and pepper. This was great. Pepperoni makes it really fun. And then after I made this, I looked down on my phone and my New York Times cooking app widget was a recipe for pepperoni pasta salad. And I gasped, and Brian thought something bad had happened. I clicked on the recipe and it's pretty different. So I will not be suing them. They use rotini pasta. They use cherry tomatoes, radicchio. Put honey in theirs. Oregano, broccoli, peppadew, peppers, pecorino, pepperoni. Yeah, and I meant to add Parmesan to this and I didn't. Anyway, dog sitting this week at Brian's parents' house, and they have a huge bag of Dots pretzels, probably from Sam's Club. I've always imagined what these tasted like pretty accurately. This was my first time trying them. They taste almost exactly like I imagined, maybe not as powerful, but I did not imagine that they would have the artificial butter flavor component like the Snyder's butter snap pretzels. That was a surprise, a welcome surprise. But if I were to make a request, I would say drop the artificial butter flavor and lean harder into the tart, maybe like acidic, like Doritos type MSG spice blend you have going on there. Yeah, so I'm dog sitting. Roscoe, the dog, who's 14, he has a diet update. He's now getting fed a drained can of Vienna sausages at noon. As I said, he's 14. He has cancer. He's slowing down. He's not doing too well. I mean, ever since I moved here, they thought he was going to die, but he's still here. So I've been feeding him cheese in bed. And per Brian's dad's instructions, you got to peel the Kraft singles into strips so that they last longer to maximize Roscoe's cheese enjoyment. So I sit next to him on the corner of his bed and I strip Kraft singles and put them into his mouth. And then I enjoyed a classic for dinner. Unidentified block of cheese from the fridge, grated over tortilla chips, microwaved for a minute. It seemed like some sort of pepper jack Havarti, according to Brian. It was in a Ziploc bag. There was no way to know. But it had a weird flavor to it. It was almost like a cinnamon flavor that was very off-putting. And I will say the first thing I do when I enter Brian's parents' house for dog sitting is I make sure they have cheese, I make sure they have tortilla chips, and I make chips and cheese because I don't have a microwave at home, so I can't do this. I mean, I guess I could just do it in the oven. This Angels and Cowboys wine was pretty good. I know that Eric got it on sale at Whole Foods. He loves to get a Whole Foods sale wine and bring it over to Brian's parents' house. He never looks at what he's getting. One time he brought over non-alcoholic wine, but I think it was pretty good. It was zippy, like Miracle Whip. June 12th, 2026. It was a Friday. 9 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half, made at home. 10 a.m. Pepperoni pasta salad and 2 hard-boiled eggs, made at home. 12 p.m. Wavy Lay's potato chips. 4 p.m. A glass of Angels and Cowboys Sauvignon Blanc. 6:30 p.m. Fried frozen pork dumplings with dipping sauce. Stouffer's frozen macaroni and cheese. And shrimp with butter and magic salmon seasoning, made at Brian's parents' house. 7 p.m. A pour of Shapas Jaria Matsurika Pilsner, microwave popcorn, and Hershey's Kisses. Sorry, I'm butchering this Portuguese beer. Yeah, another 101-degree day. So I did eat picnic food all day. Wine, potato chips, hard-boiled eggs, pasta salad, shrimp, and rummaged through Brian's freezer and made Stouffer's frozen macaroni and cheese, which kind of sucks. Decent fried pork or frozen pork dumplings. I wish I had written down the brand name. They're pretty good. Came with like a sweet dipping sauce. And then Food Lion frozen shrimp, which I defrosted and served with salted butter with this salmon magic seasoning by this person named Chef Paul Prudhomme. I asked Brian if he knew who he was. And he said, yeah, huge man with Marlon Brando vibes, which is rude, but thank you for your input. He did have a lot of PBS shows. He's a Cajun man, and he has a line of seasoning. He has passed away, but his magic seasoning blends live on. So we use the salmon magic seasoning on the shrimp, which maybe was a mistake. He has barbecue magic. He has blackened redfish magic, blackened steak magic, burger magic, magic glaze, little chili lime magic, fajita magic, gumbo filet magic. Pasta and pizza magic. Honey barbecue seasoning. No magic. Hot and sweet pizza and pasta magic. Little Italy seasoning. Oh my God, there are like 5 pages of this. I don't have time. Jerk. Creole. Chipotle. Magic French fry seasoning. Meat magic. Poultry magic. Pork and veal magic. Salmon magic, of course. Oh, we're getting into the sugar-free stuff, which I don't know. Ooh, sweetie magic. Sweetie magic. What is in this? It's a sugar and spice blend. Let's check it out. Ooh, it's pink. Sprinkle it on toast, cereal, fresh fruit, muffins, cakes, pies, custards. What is in it, sir? Tell us. Why don't you tell us? Oh, wait. You have to read the... Oh, my God. It just says sugar and spices. That feels illegal. Lemon and lime flavors. Get out of here. Okay, we can't do this all day. The beer, the Matsurika. Shapas Cervejaria Matsurika, a crisp floral bohemian pilsner brewed with jasmine petals by Shabas Cervejaria, a brewery founded by a trio of third-generation Japanese-Brazilian women. It features a 5% ABV, offering a delicate balance of bready malt sweetness and bright aromatic jasmine. This was good. I would say it's like a medium beer in my head. I wish it was lighter, but that's what I think about all beers. June 13th, 2026 was a Saturday. 8 a.m., counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 2 p.m., ceviche, a shrimp roll, a fried soft-shell crab sandwich, and a michelada special with shrimp, oysters with mignonette, and Pacifico at Jeans by the Sea in Durham, North Carolina. 3 p.m., a cold brew with half and half at Coco Cinnamon in Durham. 5 p.m., better sour watermelon and yuzu gummy shells and Lay's wavy potato chips with Dean's French onion dip at Brian's parents' house. 7:30 p.m., shrimp made by Brian and a small pour of Shapas Cervejaria Matsurika Pilsner and 2 maraschino cherries at Brian's parents' house. Okay, my third pasta salad. This is called Pasta Salad 3, aka Mac Salad 1. Half of a red onion diced, mellowed it in red wine vinegar. Carrots shredded, lacinato kale, chiffoned and diced. 1 lonely broccolini stem that I had in my crisper drawer. Arugula, fresh mozzarella. The sauce was Duke's mayonnaise, Good Culture sour cream, garlic powder, salt and pepper, sugar. Oh, I forgot mustard. I wondered why it tasted different. Pretty good though. I made a huge batch of that. Went to Jeans by the Sea, which I think should be called Jeans by the Mavis Tire Shop because that's where it's located. Pretty cool space. This is a newer restaurant. It took over like a southern restaurant that was sort of buffet-y. I don't remember. I never went there. They have like laminate booths. They have a ton of outdoor seasoning. They have a self-serve water station. I almost choked when I drank the water because of how warm it was. Seems like they hired a designer for the space, which I appreciate. Everything was really well thought out. Nothing disappoints me more than spending money on a business/restaurant that uses the Canva, Etsy cursive fonts on their signage and logo. I know that people need affordable access to marketing and communications materials, but let's try using a different font. Let's stop using the cursive with giant horizontal loops that makes it look like your font is going to fly away on a balloon. The ceviche reminded me of the ceviche from the Pete's Salad Bar. If you are a Chicago person and you've been to the Pete's grocery store, they have a ceviche salad bar, which could be good. I feel like my coworkers would eat it and then pretend that it made them sick and go home early. That's really the main use for the Pete's Salad Bar ceviche. It came with a fried tortilla served over the top, thinly sliced jalapenos, like mandolin jalapenos and radish, rather. I don't remember what kind of fish it was. I need to look at the menu. Okay, I pulled up the menu and it just says lime marinated fish, which is useless. I mean, I know it's like whatever's available, but I wish I knew. Red onion, radish, jalapeno, cilantro, tostadas. It was a tostada. Let's see, what else did I get? Pretty good michelada. I mean, it was like a really interesting special with a 32-ounce bottle of Pacifico in the middle of a pellet ice oyster tray. I appreciate that they actually used ice in their oyster tray compared to Angus Barn. It was like a tahini and tamarind rimmed glass. It also had a shrimp on the rim of the glass and a lime. Too much ice, so the flavor was diluted a bit. I ultimately regret not ordering the spicy margarita that was habanero flavored. Yeah, too much ice for the michelada. I don't know. I used to make a michelada mix at Deus Ex and made a really killer michelada, so I don't know why this wasn't living up to. It had all the components of a good michelada, but it just wasn't there. Too watery. The shrimp roll was pretty straightforward. It was those like really baby tiny shrimp and then tossed in like a really white sauce, but it wasn't like a zesty fun white sauce. It was just like plain, maybe like Hellmann's mayonnaise. So I was just like, what is this? They had a crab special. Louis dressing, shredded lettuce, pickled banana peppers on brioche. It was a fried soft shell crab. It's pretty small, in my opinion. We ate all that, and then Brian wanted to get a second round of fried clam strips and in-shell crab. And I said, let's not order another round of food at 2 p.m. in a restaurant. So we went to Whole Foods and got shrimp instead, and then he made shrimp, which were good. Is there anything else on this menu that I wanted to call out? I mean, I would go back and try some other stuff. I am tired of eating fried fish. I feel like every time I go to a seafood place, I always get fried fish. So it was good to eat non-fried fish for once. Although I guess the soft shell crab was fried. And I tried these Better Sour gummies that were on sale at Whole Foods. Small bag, even smaller portion size. The bottom eighth of the bag is filled with gummies. There are actually more in there than you think, but it's not a lot of gummies. One bag is 140 calories and has 25% of your daily fiber, which is crazy. The watermelon yuzu flavor tasted like tastes like a mouthful of pool water in a good way. Subtle flavor, not very sour, good texture, but just not sour enough. The seashell shape felt apt after all the seafood that we ate, plus all the seashell decor. We ate 3 rounds of shrimp in 24 hours, shrimp the night before, shrimp for lunch, and then we had shrimp for dinner. Did I even write that down? Yeah, Brian made shell on shrimp. Yeah, it was pretty good. Plus, I mean, I love seashells, seashell theme. Jeans, they had like wooden seashell napkin holders with the Vanity Fair seashell pattern napkins, and then all the spoons had the seashell on the end, which I love that silverware with the seashell at the end. But also felt apt because seashell is Brian's secret chosen name. About 7 years ago, I randomly asked Brian, like, if you had to name yourself anything, if you had to start over, you forgot your name and you had to name yourself something, what would you name yourself? He said seashell. Very quickly. He said it probably too quickly. So I do call him Seashell from time to time. He said he wants to retire that name. He's like, I don't know why I chose that, and I don't want that to be my secret chosen name anymore. So I told him he needs to think of another chosen name. I think a good chosen name for him would be Flamingo, since he can't stop eating shrimp. June 14th, 2026. It was a Sunday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 11 a.m. Grilled white Kraft singles on olive oil toasted Mount Athos fire sourdough made at home. 4 p.m., a glass of Angels and Cowboys Sauvignon Blanc and Dots pretzels at Brian's parents' house. 6 p.m., grilled New York strip steak, grilled green onion, and grilled corn salad with radish, cilantro, parsley, red onion, and tiki tomatoes, made by Brian at his parents' house. 7 p.m., microwave popcorn and a small pour of Shapas Cerveceria Matsurika Pilsner and 2 maraschino cherries at Brian's parents' house. 8 p.m., better sour mango gummy shells. Perfectly salty, super salty steak, thanks to Brian using table salt instead of fresh salt at Brian's parents' house. They just have access to table salt there. Also, I will say, eating processed foods all day, they are so perfectly designed to make you just not satisfied enough that you have to keep eating more of them and seeking out other things, which is terribly frustrating. And it reminds me of like why I felt so anxious and sad in high school, I think. Or like staying at Brian's parents' house reminds me of the experience of being a teenager in my parents' house. Like, it's not my house. I don't have any ownership over anything. I don't really have anything to do there. So I just like sit around and watch TV and eat snacks that never satisfy me and just make me want more food. And it makes me anxious. It makes me go crazy. And that's how I feel staying in homes that aren't mine. I need to like have things to do and clean and like update and think about and like garden. Otherwise I go crazy. And what kicked off this conversation was something Brian brought up, was the microwave popcorn. It was like the Orville Redenbacher microwave popcorn, and it's okay enough that you keep eating it, but it's bad enough that you're like, okay, now that wasn't good. Like, now what do I want to eat? Yeah, so I'm all about just like eating butter and good things, full fat, whatever you want, because then you're not going to just like mindlessly snack searching for something that actually tastes good. Also, these tiki tomatoes at Whole Foods, they were on sale. They were fine. They were not as good as Sun Golds. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I've been freezing my bread, not really on purpose. Have we talked about freezing bread? Apparently freezing the bread is really good for you. It makes it easier to digest, doesn't spike your blood sugar. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm freezing my bread to preserve it, but also for health. All right, this is way too long. I have to go. Bye.